So I told you like the school bus I saw on the way home from work the other day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Okay, so this is for our listeners, I guess, because I'm going to tell
Yeah.
again. So I'm driving on my way home, and I passed by a school bus, and written on the side, printed on the side, it says JFK Transportation. And I got home, and I was thinking about it. I was like, that has to be the worst name you could put on the side of a bus for transporting people. But the bus had a roof on
Especially children.
it. Yeah.
Oh, it had a roof on it. All right.
The bus
Okay,
had
so
a
I
roof on it, so it had that going for it. And then I was thinking a little bit more, and I was thinking the only name possibly worse than that would be on the side of a limousine, and it would say Princess Diana Transportation.
Oh my god, that's hilarious! Princess Diana Transportation.
I
Or
mean,
or even a boat. You know how they're naming after females, like Princess Diana.
yeah.
But it makes more sense with a limousine anyway.
Or
For the joke.
what if they named a plane, Buddy Holly Airlines? Just terrible ideas.
Yeah, but I mean, exactly. So that's hilarious. So what was the school called that? Obviously, right?
I'm assuming
called JFK.
Yeah, but it didn't say high
You should
school
have taken a
anywhere.
picture, man.
Well, I was driving. I literally double taked. Because I was going along the right side of it because I needed to get off the freeway, and I looked over. I was like, "Yeah, it's a bus. It says JFK on the side." And I double looked. I was like, "Whoa! Why would you put a JFK Transportation on the side? That's horrible."
That's so funny, man. You should have taken a picture. By the way, this is episode 58. We're getting up there. We're getting old.
That is wild. Yeah, it's great, man. It feels good to be 58. The knees are starting to go a little bit, but there you go.
The wrinkles are showing up.
Wrinkles are showing.
Eyes.
Yeah, sure.
With chicken scratches.
I'm wearing glasses, and the glasses have that string on it, so that I can hang them around my neck.
No, you're not. Are you really?
Oh yeah, no, of course not.
Oh, speaking of, just how good your eyes are or bad your eyes are. So I told you that I was vaping right before, like, because I got, I don't really smoke cigarettes, but it's just a pain in the ass anyway in California. Like I'll have one every other day, or it became like one a week, and even then I was like, man, it sucks trying to find a place to smoke in California or Southern California, Orange County, and two, not being harassed by people if you find a place,
Yeah, no kidding.
I was like, I'm just gonna vape or something. So I found finally a vape that kind of satisfies me like a cigarette, because it's not about the nicotine for me, at least. I think it's everything. It's I'm not going to say it's the carcinogens in cigarettes either, but it's this I guess the
social
thickness,
aspect of it,
the thickness of the smoke. Like more experiential. So I found one that was like a hookah, I guess, and it was flavored. Man, I started losing my eyesight.
Jesus.
Yeah. So a few days ago, I quit it. I woke up and I couldn't see, like everything was blurry, and usually I have very good eyesight. I'm like, I'm quitting it. And I stopped. So the next day I was like, oh wow, thank you, I can see again. And
you think the loss of eyesight was due to the vaping?
Dude, yes, it took away my eye. Like, if I continued, I would have lost my eyesight, I think, entirely.
Oh man, that's crazy. See, I smoked cigarettes for a while. I no longer do, and I picked it up relatively late in life. But I had that same problem with like trying to find a place to smoke, because I always felt so guilty about it, because it stinks up the whole radius, 15 foot radius that you're around, and then you smell like cigarettes for the rest of the day or night or whatever. But there was nothing better than like going to a bar and then going outside and smoking with everyone, because that's really, that's how you socialize.
Exactly.
I miss that aspect of it, I guess. But
me too. Yeah, the socialization of it. Yeah. I was more a social smoker before. I think that's why then. So if I go somewhere where people socially smoke, I'll end up smoking. Whatever.
I mean, that's how it was. My first stint in rehab. Because I hadn't smoked cigarettes for a long time before that, but you can't bring your vapes into rehab. And so I'd go outside and just start smoking with everybody, and that's how you make friends. That's like that's when you talk to people, is when you're outside smoking.
Yeah, and that's when people see UFOs too, by the way. A lot of stories are, I was outside having a cigarette, and I always thought about why they're making smoking so like illegal, because they don't want people to see that stuff. Because seriously, I would say like 80-90% of like eyewitness accounts are people outside smoking. Because the rest of us are just indoors. There's no reason to go outside. No one uses telescopes too much or binoculars or
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go outside and look at the stars. You might have some people like that, but most people aren't. Yeah.
That reminds me, actually, the most depressing cigarette I ever had. I was working at Costco at the time, and it was around Thanksgiving, and so they do like a double shift. So you work, throughout the night. You get there at 6 p.m. and you're there until about 5 a.m. or so. But that was the most depressing one. Is I got to the end of my shift, and me and my buddy who was working there, we both went outside and we're like, "Hey, let's have a cigarette before we go home." And we watched the sun rise, and it was the end of the day, and it was just like, oh, this is the absolute worst. There's no worse feeling than pulling a full shift like through the night to see the sun rise, and that's the end of your day.
Yeah,
There's just a weird feeling about it, and
I'm sure. Because part of, or there's lots of tactics for depression and stuff, and they always say like, watch a sunrise and sunset. They're saying they use that for people who want to cope with depression. That's one of the things, is to wake up and watch a sunrise. You was the opposite.
Yeah.
You were ending your day in the sunrise. So I'm sure that's there you are. You said it.
Yeah, I hated those shifts. And of course, I was the newest, one of the newest guys I was working in the bakery. And so you get the bad shifts and that Costco is haunted as shit. Anyway, that's enough of that. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to the Uncovering Anomalies podcast.
Yeah.
As always, that is I Want to Believe Adam.
Hey, everybody.
And I am Tell It All Topher, and I have not come up with a new nickname in weeks.
It's fine. You can be always Tell It All. I think Tell It All is a very
it's fitting, right?
Yeah, very fitting. Yeah, and why not? Tell it all. Don't keep anything inside. I think people that keep really important things inside and let it fester, eventually it comes out as something worse. Like it's going to come out anyway.
It does. I mean, I speak from experience. If you bury that stuff and then you try and bury it with alcohol, nothing gets accomplished other than legal problems and drinking problems.
Yeah,
and don't do that. You don't want any of that. Trust me.
Drown your sorrows.
You're supposed to. It's called you drown it with brown, like bourbon or whiskey.
Oh, you drown it with brown.
Or there's the other one. Rubbing alcohol is for treating wounds on the outside. Drinking alcohol is for treating wounds on the inside.
Oh my! I've never heard that one. I like that.
I'm still pretty convinced that's why I never got sick during the whole COVID thing, is because I was drinking every single night. keep those germs. You kill those germs on the inside, man.
Well, you and a lot of other people, I think millions of other Americans, including me. I mean, it was a big issue, alcohol and drug abuse, and because people are at home, and add to that,
it did affect a lot of people. I won't say his name. One of my really good friends, his parents are long-term recovered alcoholics, except apparently they backslid pretty hard during COVID because they're both retired and had to sit around and do nothing, and apparently they were just miserable
and can't see anyone. If you can't socialize and you're just watching TV and everything's miserable, like might as well. People picked up smoking again too during
the time. It was a rough time for everyone.
All right, so let's get started. We got a lot to go through. I did delete some things you sent me, some things I sent you. I'm like, it's not doing a 2-hour show again, or it might end up being that much. I don't know. But you sent me this. I think it'll be funny to start out this way.
Oh,
thank you. So, you guys talk a lot, including today, about how the border wouldn't be such a big deal if Congress would have just passed their immigration bill on day one. Who was in charge of Congress on day one? And how is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
All right. Thanks, guys.
So I did laugh at that, but I do have to point out it is edited. She did kind of respond, but it was in great her normal fashion, she didn't answer anything, just kind of went
right.
around
She
in
did it.
circles.
Yeah. But it is really funny, and it sucks. And I mean, I guess it is timely. Ducey's hilarious the way he asks his questions.
Yeah.
But I think was that before the Putin interview, or was it
It
after?
was a
It
few
was
days
before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it just shows how he was acting. And then here's this. I think this is the Apple. Was it Vision Max?
Vision Pro?
Vision Pro. So people are going around looking like robots. Here she goes. She's typing in the air, walking around.
So weird. And of course, she's got a Tesla.
Of course, she's got a Tesla. There was another one I think you sent me where it was a Tesla driving itself, and the guy was wearing these and typing.
We showed that last week, actually.
Oh, so it was already out by then.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, I can't remember if I told you or not. I saw a Cybertruck the other day in Irvine.
Oh yeah, you have told me. Yeah.
Shoot, someplace.
Yeah. You told me, and I saw one too. I saw a couple on the freeway, so they're out.
Yeah, pretty.
So
cool.
Super Bowl's tomorrow, right? And that's why we're doing this show early.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin Scorsese has directed an ad for Squarespace, which is the website creator or website builder. Good company. Not too sure about their SEO. I probably would not recommend if you want to rank for anything. But it's a it's a very timely video with the Super Bowl with UFOs and stuff. It's putting them both together.
Yeah.
So let's watch this. It's pretty funny actually, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Or at least Martin Scorsese adds his insights, which he's got great insights.
He's got his finger on the pulse.
He does, right? He understands how humans act, and I think that's why his movies are so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's take a look at this.
Reports of flying saucers are nothing new.
These are routine sightings, not isolated events.
Are you seeing that? It's spinning. There's a whole swarm of them. Oh my God. They're all against the wind. All against the wind. Yeah. Oh, look at this. That's 110, 150.
No one's even looking, right? They're on their phone.
Today on Capitol Hill and an unprecedented bipartisan push for UFO transparency.
とにかくまず今日は浜風ついてる。クリエイティブでビューティフルなコラボレーションをしている。
Aha.
I tell you, it's hit Broadway. This always happens.
I've got mixed feelings about it. Like I'm trying to figure out, because I almost got the feeling he's like he was going for like it's super depressing that everyone's so focused on their phones they can't even look and see what's around them. But the whole point of the commercial is to like get your eyes on the screen, back to the screen.
Oh yeah, good point.
Because that's what Squarespace does. They build websites.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I think what I said to you is I was conflicted, but it's cool that UFOs are so mainstream now. You can make a commercial like this, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, it's the current thing that's happening," instead of like, "Oh man, what a bunch of weirdos."
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, 100 million people, right, watch Super Bowl. Well, that's only in this country. I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say
probably more.
Yeah, probably a lot more. But yeah, I mean, it's
cool though.
It's cool.
Scorsese, right? He does things pretty, but yeah,
you're right.
People, he's complaining that everyone's looking at their phones and they can't see what's going up on, on top of them. But then when those beings create a website and it's on people's phones, then they realize, right? Yeah. That's what they're,
I don't know.
So maybe they are. Communicating.
Still fun. And if you do end up watching this today, Saturday, you'll probably see that commercial tomorrow during the Super Bowl. So you got it here first, folks.
That's right. And just to go on the theme of understanding anti-gravity and anti-gravity technology, Michael Schratt came out with another video. Basically, because there is evidence, right? Like lots of evidence. A lot of these scientific books, comic books, scientific research, like in the 50s, they were saying, all right, gravity, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and then it went black. It was gone. So here he goes through some of these magazines, like this one is called Young Men. But yeah, let's listen to Sharat, and then I recommend watching the entire video to our listeners. It's a lot of fun because, and he proves like something was wrong here because they were there, they reached it, and then it went all black.
Well, we know where it went.
Right. Yeah.
If you read this book, and I've got the chat open here, so I'm so glad to be with everybody. In this book, he talks about how one of his coworkers laid an interesting article that came from this publication, Young Men. And within this publication, there was an article called The G Engines Are Coming. This is Young Men, November 1956. And it's this article that really broke this whole thing open because it named the contractors, it named the universities that were working on cracking the gravity barrier, it gave contractors, dates, locations. It really was a watershed moment, and it's good to have an original copy of this entire publication here. So I'm going to dive into this, and they give you this illustration.
Does that look familiar to you? Do you remember last week he was going through some cases?
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like the one that landed on the road and had the big antenna sticking.
Yes,
but it
exactly.
This one doesn't have the antenna sticking out the back.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. But that one was in 1963. So 7 years after this.
Gotcha.
So that's crazy corroboration.
To kind of start out this article, that the historical legacy of gravity research, the G engines are coming. Young Men, November 1956. That's the reference for all this. And then this is our full color rendering based on the periodical black and white illustration, just to give you now this is interesting because if you look closely at the configuration of this craft, it kind of looks like a refined version of the March 23rd, 1966 Eddie Laxon case. So it's kind of got that same thing, but a much more modern version here. All right, let's go to the next one. So here's what the newspaper clippings talk about within that periodical publication article. Amarillo Daily News, November 20th, source, scientific. Now we're seeing what's going on here. Okay, let's continue here. New York Times, with life itself as the greatest unsolved mystery in the universe. Ooh, the wording on this.
All right, so yeah, I don't want. So the initial steps of an almost incredible program to solve the secret of gravity and universal gravitation are being taken today in many of America's top scientific laboratories and research centers. A number of major, long-established companies in the United States aircraft and electronics industries are also involved in gravity research. Scientists in general bracket gravity with life itself as the greatest unsolved mystery in the universe.
It's pretty cool. I mean, and you're right, what you mentioned earlier, that it just went black because this is from the 50s. So they either cracked it and completely buried it so the U.S. government, or I mean the military or whatever, could use it in secret, or it failed so badly they couldn't get anywhere with it, and it just went away, and it got buried also.
Yeah, I mean, people say breakaway civilization, but they also say like oligarch breakaway. Not a civilization or a government, but like oligarchs, like corporate breakaway. And that's what this might be, is they crack it and then, they take it and bury it. And then they continue while, government and society.
The wording on this is incredible. Talking about the greatest unsolved mystery in the universe, something that far surpasses the atomic bomb program. Now we're seeing what's going on here. Okay, let's continue here. New York Times, February 7th, 1957. Gravity studied as power source. Scientific research seeking control of force disclosed at engineer meeting. Now, it says, Jesse Vernon Honeycutt, a director and vice president of the Bethlehem Steel Company, declared, quote, should the mystery be solved, it would bring about a greater revolution in power, transportation, and many other fields than the discovery of atomic power. These quotes are important when you look at the whole picture here.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1957, so we're still in the middle of like the hydrogen bomb. I think was 1953, so we're talking about 4 years after that. You know, I mean, the advancement was so quick. You know, I mean, now we see crazy advancement too, but then in the military, in this field with the atomic bomb and hydrogen bomb, and then anti-gravity, it was so quick. I mean, it's like they took off, but you know.
Yeah, and what do we know about power and transportation is that there is a ton of money to be made, and if you create a system that makes it cheap and easily accessible to everyone, those companies that are that control power, control transportation, they lose their money, and they've got a vested interest in making sure this kind of technology doesn't get out to the general public.
Right, and those are the oligarchs, the one that own oil. You know, it's the Rockefellers. Those are huge corporations. We have to break them up. Energy, electricity. It's been the same electricity grid forever. You know, not much has changed since Tesla. But this is in 1957. Anyway, we can continue on, but it just shows how gravity research was really serious, was very advanced in the 50s, and then this presentation just proves that it went dark. What's this? Within the next 10 years, electric propulsion. Yeah, see? I mean, Tesla even had some patents in the late 19th century, 1800s, like 1890. He had a UFO. So there it is. I think it's this one.
And I think that's just his Tesla coils. But electricity for space exploration. Yeah. Actually, I just watched. I was going through last night and watching some. I watched the new the Y files and some of the older ones, and one of the older ones he was talking about was Tesla and how basically it was the same thing because Tesla wanted to give free energy and power all over the world because he thought it was feasible, and he got shut down so hard by everybody, basically blacklisted. He couldn't get any funding, couldn't get any funding for it, and it's the same type of deal here. Is anyone who's trying to make the world a better place, allow people to have free this, free that, with no subscription, no payment, no nothing. They get completely blacklisted and shut down.
Something or someone just wants to keep humanity enslaved, unfortunately. Something very powerful. But even when Tesla died, the government took all his documents, and guess who was involved with looking through those documents?
It was Trump's uncle.
Yes, it was.
Trunkle, I think he's called.
Yeah.
No, it really was Trump's uncle, though, people.
Yeah, it was Trump's uncle, and that's why a lot of people say Trump knows a lot more about this subject than is known, and he was very close to his uncle. He was very close to Nixon too. Anyway, that's another subject, but yes, the rabbit hole for that goes deep.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the FBI came in, and what did they say? They had 80 trunks worth of Tesla stuff, and then when they sent it to Serbia, I think, to the Tesla museum, they only sent over 60 trunks and said, "Oh no, that's all we've got."
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people say that a lot of the technology we have is actually from those papers of Tesla.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the flying, like a lot of the UFOs that we have.
It's like a trade publication. It's only about 8 pages, 10 pages in length. Electricity for space exploration within this Ryan reporter here. And then they give you this. Isn't this interesting? Illustration of an aerospace vehicle which incorporates an aero-electric propulsion system features circular disc configuration. That's interesting. Now, if you read this 3-page article within this publication, they are absolutely not talking about solid rockets here. Okay, within this publication, I've got a quote. It says, within the next 10 years, electric propulsion will play a leading role in making extensive spaceships possible. So not only do we have the universities working on it, we've got the defense contractors working on it. And now you can see that even in their own publications, they're leading us into the direction of these circular disc-shaped craft that have no solid rocket boosters. So we're heading in the right direction here. All right, let's go to the next one.
They are.
Miami Herald, December 2nd.
Great presentation. We can go forward here.
Yeah.
But it just
go ahead and check it out.
How
No, I was just going to say,
go ahead, check it out.
To our listeners, go ahead and check it out. as a reminder, if you're a first-time listener, we do post everything that we talk about in the show notes, so you guys can go and watch the full clip, because we only are showing little small segments of it.
Right, and it's important to say that he goes contractors, universities, corporations, all of them are talking about this in the 50s, and it was pretty imminent back then. So anyone saying, "Oh, there's nothing there," it's all hogwash. Here's another one. This is from Whitley Strieber's website, unknowncountry.com. U.S. Air Force textbook on UFOs from 1968. So this is Introductory Space Science Volume 2. So this is a leaked U.S. Air Force textbook, and there's a chapter. So it goes Department of Physics, U.S. Air Force, chapter
32.
33.
Oh, 33. I missed that last little I in there.
Of course, 33. Unidentified flying objects edited by Major Donald Carpenter. So this goes through the entire history. Really, to tell you, I don't want to go through it all. It even goes through like sightings from the 1800s. Here we go. Like Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, wow. Many documented UFO sightings occurred through the Middle Ages, including and especially starting one of a UFO over London on December 16th, 1742. However, we do not have room to include any more of the Middle Ages sightings. Instead, 2 more quote-unquote more recent sightings are contained in this section to bring us up to modern times. In a sworn statement dated April 21st, 1897, a prosperous and prominent farmer named Alexander Hamilton, Leroy, Kansas, USA, told of an attack upon his cattle at about 10:30 p.m. the previous Monday. He, his son, and his tenant grabbed axes and ran some 700 feet from the house to the cow lot, where a great cigar-shaped ship about 300 feet long floated some 30 feet above the cattle. It had a carriage underneath, which was brightly lighted within. Dirigible and gondola? ? And which had numerous windows. Inside were 6 strange-looking beings jabbering in a foreign language. Once the beings became aware of Hamilton and the others, they immediately turned a searchlight on the farmer and also turned on some power, which sped up a turbine wheel about 30 feet in diameter, located under the craft. The ship rose, taking with it a 2-year-old heifer, which was roped about the neck by a cable of 1/2 inch thick red material. Oh. The next day, a neighbor, Link Thomas, found the animal's hide, legs, and head in his field. Oh boy. He was mystified at how the remains got to where they were because of the lack of tracks in the soft soil. Very common with cow mutilation.
Yes, it is. So he's got a sworn statement here.
Yeah,
and then he goes in. Yeah, he jumps. Yeah.
Alexander Hamilton's sworn statement was accompanied by an affidavit as to its veracity. The affidavit was signed by 10 of the local leading citizens.
Wow. That's not a joke, man.
Yeah, so I mean, this kind of stuff has been going on a very, very long time.
It has, and this chapter, if it really was part of the Air Force, it's just it just reads like a textbook too when you read it.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. It should just be facts, not sensationalized stuff.
Yeah, so it goes through Socorro, the whole Socorro thing in New Mexico. It talks about that with Sergeant Zamora. And if I'm sure people know about that one, right? Where he's a police officer. He saw something. He pulled over. He saw an egg-shaped craft that had that logo, where it was like a delta with three whatever. Saw the beings. They went in. They took off. It was a Project Blue Book one, so that's in here too. And then they talk about natural phenomenon. They talk about crazy people.
Yeah, there's a lot of information here.
Yeah, but then they talk about what's this? Distance of observer. I want to get to the part where they talk about the different types of UFOs, because it's not just historical. They tell them how to look out for these things.
Here it is, right here. Further data correlation is quite difficult. There are a large number of different saucer shapes, but this may mean little. For example, look at the number of different types of aircraft which are in use in the U.S. Air Force alone. It is obvious that intensive scientific study is needed in this area. No such study has yet been undertaken at the necessary levels of intensity and support. One thing that must be guarded against in any such study is the trap of implicity, and assuming that our knowledge of physics or any other branch of science is complete.
Aha.
An example of one such trap is selecting a group of physical laws, which we now accept as valid, and assume that they will never be superseded. That's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
5 such laws might be: every action must have an opposite and equal reaction. Every particle in the universe attracts every other particle with a force proportional to the product of the masses and inversely as a square of the distance. Energy, mass, and momentum are conserved. No material body can have a speed as great as c, the speed of light in free space. The maximum energy which can be attained from a body is at rest is E equals mc squared, where m is the rest mass of the body. Anyway, it's just examples of laws that we think they're completely they can't be changed. But what this article is saying is we can't approach scientific study that way.
Right, exactly. We have to be open. We can't close our mind just because our advanced science says that that's the way it is. How can it be any other way? And there are people that still think that way. Like, well, okay, I believe in aliens. It's a really big universe, and they got to be out there. But I don't believe they're here. They can't come here. That's the thinking. Because we're stuck in that paradigm. But it even goes and talks about different groups of aliens. They're saying there's at least 3 and maybe 4 different groups of aliens, possibly at different stages of development. But they admit this too is difficult to accept and implies the existence of intelligent life on a majority of the planets in our solar system, or a surprisingly strong interest in Earth by members of other solar systems. A solution to the UFO problem may be obtained by the long and diligent effort of a large group of well-financed and competent scientists. Unfortunately, there is no evidence suggesting that such an effort is going to be made. Interesting why they'd say that, huh?
Mm-hmm. Look, and I've said this over and over again. I'm going to say it one more time. You need to read the 3-Body Problem, that series of books. All of this stuff, a lot of the stuff we talk about on the show is ingrained in those books. It's super, super interesting. But the whole concept of aliens, it's been so saturated by media. Everyone thinks they're essentially would not look like humans, but would be humanoid. But one of the articles we talked about last week, what if some of the laws of physics themselves are the aliens? It's things like that, like something we couldn't even comprehend.
Right.
That's the stuff more interesting to me than just little green men on Mars.
Right. I mean, even that the laws of physics are intelligent, that they are also non-human intelligence. Yeah, it's not one thing. It's so many other things because it's all connected. Life is everywhere. Intelligence is everywhere. So you sent me this, and there's a lot of chatter about this also.
There is, and as you pointed out, there has been for a while. But as we know, it's an election year. Things are ramping up, and everything is coming back in the cycle. We posted a couple episodes ago that the last time the Kansas City Chiefs played the 49ers in a Super Bowl, COVID happened.
It was COVID, yeah.
And
and it was a leap year.
And it was a leap year, and Trump got elected, and here we are again. Not, I'm sorry, it was
Biden got elected.
Biden got elected. It was the end of Trump's term. So here we go again. The cycle continues. So this is off of Reddit, from the subreddit Prepper Intel. FBI Director Christopher Wray warned about the growing threat of Chinese cyber attacks against U.S. electrical grids and other infrastructure in an appearance Wednesday morning before the White House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party.
I mean,
So this kind of stuff, this really would be scary. I mean, we joke about, no, what am I going to do without my phone? But imagine the absolute chaos that would occur if, even for a few days, if our
fridges are the problem. If your fridge is gone for 2 days, and food starts going bad, and you start getting hungry, then that's when shit hits the fan.
Exactly. The whole country would just shut down, and not like COVID shutdown where you have to stay in your house. It's like you can, the grocery stores are shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? You can't even fathom it. Everything in our lives at this point revolves around the use of electricity. It feels like
everything. You're back in the Stone Ages when there's no electricity. That's why many people bought generators, gas generators, solar generators. Preppers. You got to be ready for these things. And if a
ready.
cyber attack does happen, especially on infrastructure, it might take months, or even years. If it depends on the damage for it to be fixed again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke now, but imagine, having a gun shoved in your face for a can of beans.
It'll happen. It'll happen. If someone knows you got food in your house or something. Yeah.
It's scary stuff, man. What's there's a percentage, like, they always talk about Americans are like 2 missed paychecks away from being homeless.
I think one, right?
Yeah, like something like that. But compound that into, it's not just the unlucky soul that doesn't get a paycheck. It's everyone you know.
After a month, it'll become everyone you know. Yeah, 99% of people will be in a desperate situation.
Yes, it's terrifying stuff.
Get to know your neighbors. Have friends and family close by. Yeah, be nice to them. If you are hoarding food or not hoarding food, if you are planning or prepping, and you do have food, probably it's not a good idea to tell everyone about it.
Absolutely not.
People get desperate. It doesn't mean you can't be generous, but do it in a way like, oh yeah, I don't have much, but here's this just to help out, kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's dangerous too, because it's kind of like feeding the stray cat,
Oh, they'll come back.
Yeah, or they'll.
It's tough. It's tough, huh?
Yeah.
I think it'll take about a month for things for the community to figure out what's going on. So say electricity is gone, what we're used to, these distribution networks and centers and all that. I think people will organize. Maybe it'll be direct to farm. Farmers to people. Instead of like truckers trucking whatever, from the heartland or from the farms. I think every community, everything become local is what I'm saying. Like the farm to market that we see every weekend, that will be like for everyone, not just for the hipsters.
Yeah, it'd be a fun little social event. That'd be also super dangerous.
Yeah, that's true too. But again, it depends on the community, and it really is about that too. It just, if everyone works together and is civil and you look out for each other, then we'll be okay. As if it's everyone out for themselves and guns and it's just gonna be chaos, and everyone's gonna be protecting their own forts. And let's hope it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
Some communities will.
Yep.
Kirkpatrick is still on his PR tour. We're not gonna spend too much time on this. He did say some things. Oh, look at that! I stopped it on 333. So he's on Scientific American again, but this time on a podcast. The guy's not asking him any hard questions. He's letting Kirkpatrick basically just go on his propaganda misinformation tour. So I stopped it here because he answers a good question, but as usual, we know he's not telling the truth, or he's up to something,
or because you sent me that other post with him. It sounds like he's been forced to hide stuff.
Yeah, very strange. So we get conflicting messages on this.
Was described and document all of them, which we did, and that was the last report that I signed out before I retired. So in it, there is a bunch of programs that were named. Those are all classified. We found what all of those programs are and reported those back up to Congress. Congress's concern is that there was a program that they did not have insight into. And that is not the case. What we've found is that everything that's been named or identified has a legitimate oversight committee. It's been reported out. It may be state-of-the-art capabilities that, if somebody were to see and didn't understand, but that's the scope of the investigation.
It's fair to say that you have.
All right, so he's basically saying there that he understands that if someone saw these projects and saw the technology, would think it's aliens. He's saying it's not. It's just really high-tech stuff, and they don't know what they're talking about. And they all have oversight, according to Kirkpatrick.
Right, that's why all that black budget money just gets missing.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's missing, and it's been outed many times, but because Kirkpatrick said so, then it's all fine. It has oversight. Congress knows what's going on. Even though we know Congress does know what's going on, or a lot of them don't.
And we've seen how efficient our government is and how good at their jobs they are.
Yeah, and he's on Politico again. They talk about him. Maybe we don't have to go through that. What? Oh, here's George Knapp on him. This isn't George.
Yeah,
George always has good takes. So he talks about Kirkpatrick's latest PR tour.
Seems to me, big picture, that there's a couple of goals of this Kirkpatrick disinformation media tour he's been on. One is to give mainstream media an excuse to not dig into this anymore.
Yeah.
They've already ignored it for 70 plus years for the most part. You had the New York Times story by Ralph and Leslie and Helene in 2017 that really kicked things into gear. And it was uncharacteristic for the New York Times to give that kind of a platform to the UFO topic, but they did. And other mainstream media followed for a while. Now they've sort of all slunk back into the corner, into the same position that most of them have always had. Exactly. They don't want to deal with this. They don't want to cover it. They don't want to spend the resources to actually get to know the topic and the witnesses. They don't do any of that stuff. So Kirkpatrick saying there's nothing to see here, folks, move along, is exactly what mainstream media wants and needs because they don't want to deal with it anyway. Secondly, it seems to be targeting Congress. I mean, the interest level of Congress in the UFO subject is a series of peaks and valleys in history. There are periods where it gets really.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that, where he says that Kirkpatrick is basically just giving an excuse for most of the mainstream media to ignore this and say, well, see, the ex-head is saying that's nothing. He looked at it. Oh, I knew it. Let's just move on.
I think it's extremely likely because that's what people do. Yeah. Like this political article that you had up. People, if you're online, for instance, and you want to talk about aliens or UFOs, someone can just post that and go, well, the guy in charge says they're not real.
Exactly.
It's like, well, it's frustrating. But, I do think it's really likely.
Because it's easy. Most people are lazy, right? They don't want to do the work. They don't want to go into it's a headache, especially something this big. And it is huge. And it's 80 years and it's a cover up. And you have whistleblowers. And
the most frustrating thing are the idiots that say stuff like, to make an extraordinary claim, you have to have extraordinary evidence. And they use that stupid, dumb fucking argument. And you show them all of the evidence that has been accumulated over the years.
Yeah.
And then they'll post an NBC article about Kirkpatrick, and that's their proof that none of it's real.
I think people
just want to drop kick them. Why. You just want to take a running jump and just kick them right in the head for being such a moron.
WWE style.
Yeah. Give him the people's elbow.
So he goes, and then he continues here with
the high, like now. And then after a while, it goes away. The media coverage that happened after that New York Times article gave Congress some political cover. Hey, there's really a genuine mystery here. There's a legitimate national security issue at stake. We should look into this, which they've been doing since early 2018, behind closed doors.
That's a good point, because Kirkpatrick, he did. He targeted the media first. He's like, don't worry, guys. I got it. There's nothing here. And then he went after Congress also in those articles and those podcasts, saying they got captured by a bunch of conspiracy theorists and we have UFO religionists in Congress. And so he's like, he's like trying to scare Congress people and senators to leave this subject alone too, like ridiculing them. Man. Yeah, what a dangerous guy this guy is, huh?
Yeah.
Hearing from witnesses, hearing from credible people like David Fravor, for example, and other witnesses, whistleblowers, and they took it seriously because they're credible people. These are people that we have entrusted that the safety of our families, the security of our country. We give them our most sophisticated weapon systems. We trust them with sensors to protect our lives. And yet when they have this kind of information, based on their training and experience, we're not supposed to believe them? Well, Congress did believe them. And it's not something you and I cooked up. That was underway long before we came on the scene. So, I think that is what Kirkpatrick is trying to do. Chase the media away, give them a reason not to cover it, and chase Congress away and let them know they're going to look silly if they pursue this. Our friend and colleague, Chris Sharp.
Yeah, so for sure, that's exactly what he's trying to do. Because both of those were allies, right? With disclosure coming out was Congress and the media. The media started coming on our side, and That's who he targeted. And now, of course, Popular Mechanics comes out. UFOs and aliens. As a scientist, I believe in both. But here's where I draw the line.
Oh, God.
He's one of those that, goes through it, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't talk about the UAP Disclosure Act, none of that. Just talks about Arrow, and then what you just talked about, the whole you need evidence. I think it's right here. Where is it? There are aliens. No substantial evidence. Wait, I want to, because he does quote exactly what you talked about. It is impossible without further evidence. Anyway, it's not that important. But I'm just saying, it's just the same spiel. Like, there's no evidence. These people have not looked into it. What they mean by no evidence is that someone like Kirkpatrick or someone the head of the DOD hasn't come out and said so. That's what they mean.
Yeah, exactly.
There is so much evidence out there, and that's been leaked, official evidence, and we can go through that too later on, because one thing that survived. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, and even some of the evidence they use is not accurate. Like for instance, like I always think back to Roswell.
Yeah.
And they always talk about, oh, it's an air balloon, and like the people who were there at the scene, who worked for the military, were like,
right,
what the hell is this? And then the guy I can't remember his name. He was the
Marcel.
He was the one that had the picture taken with the thing, right? And he came out and said, basically, they took all the evidence he brought in, put it in a back room, and came out with random junk and made him hold it and pose for a picture and said, if you tell anyone about this, we'll murk you.
And he was part of the team that used to launch those weather balloons, so he knew what they were.
Yeah.
And he goes, this crash was not that. It's something else.
And so why
I would know.
And so why the people who were like, oh, well, Roswell was clearly an air balloon, like, why aren't you using the evidence that shows it wasn't an air balloon?
Because they just can't handle it, or it just doesn't fit their paradigm. So they just go with what fits their paradigm, unfortunately.
And that's the other thing. If you just outright trust what the government tells you, I honestly think you're a moron. I can't even deal
especially
with
after COVID. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
Especially after that. Forget 9/11.
Well, why would the government lie to us?
I
go, no, I can't even talk to you. You're so far down being a moron. It's like to be like kicking my own head.
COVID is the litmus test. Seriously.
It really is.
I mean, if you seriously still push that, then I don't know. You're either like just an NPC or a shell.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
Cuomo has been really going after this, and he had Ryan Graves on, which is cool. So they talk about what's been going on. I'm not going to go through the whole clip. I think the first half is important.
When I started dealing with this conversation and sitting at some of those tables in DC, when I was first testifying, I won't call it testifying, but I was say communicating to folks within the Senate Armed Services Committee and Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, there were all the representatives essentially, and the staffers on one side and the DoD folks on the other side. And the vast majority of the communication was me speaking about our experiences and the representatives being told by the DoD folks that they didn't have high enough clearances to continue the conversation.
Did you hear that? So he's trying to tell Congress, this is what I saw, this is what I experienced, this is what my team has experienced. And then DOD is sitting there saying, sorry, they don't have the clearance to hear this. You can't go forward with your testimony.
Oh, God.
Nothing there, though. There's nothing there.
No,
there's nothing there.
And always trust the government. They never lie or do anything wrong.
Oh, man.
And I think that's been where this conversation has been in Congress for probably about 5 years or so, where essentially there has been a lot of stonewalling, to your point, not being able to get right into the programs, not having the proper clearances, not having proper rooms available. I do get the sense that this last ICIG meeting that they had, which wasn't a proper secure space, the representatives did seem, I would say, more interested coming out of that in the conversation. There did seem to be something that impacted them in a, I'll say, positive way for the conversation, continued exploration of the conversation. It would have been very easy, I think, for a lot of people to come out of there frustrated and say, or to say that, not much had happened. But I think that was I forget which representative said, but maybe one of their first real briefs on this topic. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. I think there has been a lot of the whole back and forth on classification, not just with the David Grush incident, but for the past few years.
Well, look, and Grush again is somebody people would have loved to have seen kind of smeared, and it hasn't happened. Same with you. Nobody's come out with the usual, which is, this guy got relieved of duty for a reason. This guy's disgruntled. We're in the middle of litigation with him. That's what usually happens. And none of that has happened here. I see this story as the biggest, most obvious head fake of anything else I've covered. The Russian dossier, that was fake. No, it wasn't. It was something that was relied on too much by people who should have known better. They knew it was raw intelligence. They had a lot of corroborative stuff. They decided to invest.
Did you hear that? It was not fake because I remember he covered it on CNN. That's why he's saying that it was not fake. But then he just said it was wrong intelligence, which means it's fake.
Wait, did he say wrong intelligence or did he say raw? R-A-W?
I
thought he said raw intelligence, as in it hasn't been disseminated.
Corroborated.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. You're right. But still, raw, it means wasn't corrupt, but still means it's fake. I'm sorry. Raw intelligence. But yeah, that's much better than wrong.
Corroborative stuff. They decided to investigate. The way they decided it, exacerbated it, but it was all what it was. This story, Biden and his kid. Look, that is what it is. Either you find that the money went to the family in the way it should have, or it didn't. The election rigged. Either you find that people faked votes or counted the votes wrong, or you don't. This one is the only one where we have been told absolutely nothing by the people who use our money and our power of agency to keep us safe without explanation. I've never heard anything else like it.
Maybe that's why a lot of people.
Why? That is a great question, I think, and a great insights from Cuomo there. It's the only one. And this is someone who's been looking into things, like he said, Russiagate or whatever, the memo, and Biden and Hunter and that corruption there, and the election. He's saying anything he can look into. He can yes or no or somewhere in the middle. This is the only subject that we are told nothing. Stonewall doesn't exist. Zero, right? And that's why it's driving him crazy.
It was driving a lot of us crazy.
And then, and probably why this came out too. Release the X-Files. I'm the ex-Pentagon. I don't know if I believe this so much, or I don't know where they got this quote. You mentioned it earlier in the show. I'm the ex-Pentagon UFO chief, and I was gagged from revealing alien secrets. The bombshell files must be released. This is talking about Kirkpatrick. The Pentagon's ex-UFO chief has made sensational claims he was gagged from revealing top secret information on alien life. How does that happen after his PR tour? This guy is seriously a disinformation agent. If he really said this,
I don't know. Maybe he's like, who's the UFO?
Hynek.
No.
Oh,
guy who worked for the government and admitted that his job was to fake stories, and then he came out and said,
"Oh, Doty."
Yeah, now I'm on your guys' team.
Doty,
maybe it's one of those. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So Sean Kirkpatrick.
I mean, they gotta have if he truly is being gagged like this, then they've got some serious dirt on him.
He said his bosses within the Pentagon stopped him speaking the truth to the public on multiple occasions, despite him having evidence to support his findings. The physicist who served as a UFO chief for a year said he felt that his department wasn't allowed to reveal enough information about mysterious aircraft. Dr. Kirkpatrick explained there was a very strong concern to engage in the public discourse as often as I thought we needed to. The fact that they can't figure out how to get that message without concern or spillage into other areas has always been a frustrating point. I'm not sure, how this reads. That's what he was saying. I think.
Yeah. See, this is the question I had when you originally sent it to me. That's why I think I asked you. I said, "Is he saying that I was gagged from telling the truth that aliens do exist, or I couldn't tell the truth because it would compromise other, like our military and stuff. Because
if you remember, he was talking about the orbs and saying it's a global phenomenon. He was very different when he first started. I mean, something happened like towards the middle of his tenure.
He got probed. He got sucked up into a UFO and they probed him.
Yeah. Or they read him in, or they scared him, or like they say, we keep it secret for a reason, and he just went along with it, kind of thing. Anyway, all weird. But this leads into something you sent me, and Bill Tompkins, which I completely forgot about him, but you sent me this article from 2 years ago.
Bill Tompkins was in control room when Neil Armstrong met moon reptilians. Quite the claim.
Yeah.
He had a lot of very interesting claims, I think you said.
Yeah, he has a book called Selected by Extraterrestrials. Wait, who edited it for him? He's a ufologist. Michael Sala edited the book for him because it wasn't well written, I recall. But I have the book, really cool. He tells his life of growing up here in Southern California as a kid, and apparently he was very talented in designing aircraft and designing aircraft carriers. He was sent to Nazi Germany in the either late 30s or early 40s as a spy because they knew that they had functioning flying saucers. So we had a Navy unit that was spying there and bringing back intelligence here to the U.S. So all of these guys came out, by the way, during Trump. When Trump got elected, that's when the New York article came out. That's when all this disclosure started, when Trump was elected.
Yeah.
It's just strange again. You could talk about John Trump and the Tesla files.
I think it's just one of those things. Whoa, that guy's president? Okay, all bets are off. Let's go.
Yeah, they're like, okay, yeah, the deep state's gone. Let's go ahead. Let's bring this out.
I just love this. Those first two paragraphs are great. Just he can be considered one of the most incredible whistleblowers to step forward. Not credible whistleblower, incredible whistleblower.
Incredible.
And disclose the secret space programs, ET agendas, and hidden governments. He claimed to be part of an operation involving U.S. Navy spies who stole UFO plans and anti-gravity technological secrets from the Nazis during World War II. But I love he worked for the Douglas Aircraft Company alongside extraterrestrials, Nordic alien women.
Women, yeah.
Had been 4 to 7 years before NASA was created.
This guy came out, I remember now, he came out at the same time that other idiot came out. I'm not saying this guy's an idiot, because I believe him more than the other guy, the blue aliens. God, what was his name? Corey Good. That guy,
yeah.
Oh my, he was the worst, man.
Yeah, Corey Good is something else. He was a Philadelphia experiment guy, right?
Something like that. Yeah. And secret space program, and he regressed 20 years, and he was a slave on Mars. That guy.
All other stuff too. Yeah. Yeah, he was shipped to Mars as a kid, and then they time regressed him back when he got back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so this guy's story is just as fantastic, except he has the receipts. He did work for the aircraft for what company was it?
He worked for the
Douglas,
U.S. Navy.
Douglas Aircraft, yeah, and Navy. So they have his Navy stuff too, and he was a spy with the Navy. So all that stuff checks out. It's not like it doesn't. I mean, even with Lazar, it doesn't. You can't find anything. With this guy, they did. So he goes here. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll wrap up with something else.
All right. So according to Tompkins, the Nazis were in contact with extraterrestrial reptilians, of course, because they're the bad guys. At the same time as Orsic was doing her channeling, Hitler found out about Orsic, her abilities, and the fact she was receiving. Orsic, I think. Wait a minute. Does this go back to the Thule Society?
I know that's kind of what I was
Vril.
thinking.
Yeah. Sorry, Vril Society. Vril Society. Yeah. According to Tompkins, Hitler allowed Orsic and the Nordics, with whom she was working, to continue to work on their UFO program because the Nazis were already in contact with the reptilians. Now, Herman Oberth, which is one of the fathers of rocketry, also said that they were helped by other worlds with technology.
Interesting.
So they bring up Robert Wood here, which we brought up last week. Robert Wood is the owner of MajesticDocuments.com. He was given money to here it is. Yeah. He was given $500,000 to disseminate UFO documents and $250,000 to make a UFO documentary. This is Dr. Wood. And his son Ryan, we were talking about Ryan last week, scanned hundreds of MJ-12 documents. So anyway, Tompkins, I recommend getting the book Selected by Extraterrestrials. It's a fun book.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. So what I was going to say, so first I'm going to talk about a TV show because that's what I do, and I'm going to wrap it back into this. I watched this TV show recently. It started off really good, and then it ended poorly because it's based on a Stephen King book, and we all know that guy cannot write an ending to save his life.
Yeah.
It's called The Outsider. It's pretty good. But anyway, it starts as like a murder mystery, and it turns into like supernatural, almost horror, but campy. Anyway, one of the main character, who's like this hard-nosed detective who has no interest in the supernatural, he finally is starting to believe that this is going supernatural, and he's talking to some of the other people involved with him. He's going, how do you deal with this? And they go, you just do it in small bites. You don't have to accept all of it at once. You just take small bites of it. And it's kind of like Bill Tompkins. I feel like reading all of his claims, he should have released it in small bites and not the whole thing, because the whole thing makes it look like a crazy story. But
he was dying too, right? I think he died 2 years after he released
that's what it said. And I'm not even sure that works, because if you do release stuff in small bites, like who was doing that a couple years ago?
He's too much of a womanizer, because just thinking back now, like the book was a lot about that, like about women, and then he got interviewed by Cassidy. I forget her first name.
But it just makes it seem like you're hitting
on her
or making stuff up if you release it in small bites.
I see what you're saying.
Academy to the Stars was doing that. They talked about releasing stuff in small bites instead of releasing the whole thing.
Yeah,
because it'll be in the book that you have to purchase for $59.99.
Well, do you remember the DoD did a press release, I think a couple of weeks ago, saying that they're going to start releasing or declassifying technology? Yes, or secret. They said secret space program technology.
Yeah.
So if well, this came out about from Lockheed Martin. It's a 2-minute video. I sent this to you, but here, let's watch it. It's crazy.
Do things like embed the carbon nanotubes to make conductive structure, so that information doesn't flow through a wire next to a structure, but literally flows through the structure.
We'll be able to grow or make a structure that, say, is the skin of an aircraft, that inside of that is also contained the sensors or the energy storage or many different multiple functions.
New materials that are on the lab bench right now, they can literally change shape on command. They can become almost a muscular material.
Roswell. We could have an airplane that optimizes its shape for the different flight conditions it's in.
There's definitely a lot of amazing technology that's going on. The Lockheed Samurai, based on a small maple seed-like looking device. The fact that we can package enough energy for something like that to fly and still carry a sensor, a camera, enough control capability for it to fly is amazing to me. As we go forward, we're going to find new ways of using these unmanned vehicles.
They'll probably be autonomous. So they'll be like UAVs, but carry cargo around where there are currently no infrastructure in place.
We may have small swarms of small vehicles interacting with a larger vehicle that basically combines the information from that swarm. So maybe one vehicle flies a small distance and another vehicle learns from it and knows which way to fly.
Probably what makes sense is a heterogeneous swarm. One where not every element of the swarm is the same. Some elements of the swarm carrying sensors, some carrying other types of electronics. So it's an adaptable system that can adapt to a changing environment and a changing future that is difficult for us to predict.
The true value of research is not in the answer you get that you knew you were looking for, but the answer that you find that you didn't know to look for.
Yeah, it's always been them, guys. It's always been them. That's what they try and tell us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of it is, though.
I mean, I'm sorry, not in the 1800s, not in the 1700s, not in the 1600s.
Right.
You know, not even, yeah. But yeah, recently, once they started shooting them down and probably meeting with them and saying, all right, stop, we got this, or all right, we'll give you a base here, or you can infiltrate our society here. You can study some people, but stop infiltrating our airspace. And you know what I mean? Like, that's why we don't see that much anymore since, I don't know, 90s, or there's some that come in once in a while that like come into like airspace or airports, like Chicago. Was that 2006?
They get a lot of sightings in Chicago. I mean, we were just talking about a few. I guess it's been a couple months now. We were talking about the flap that was going down in Colombia, and everyone was seeing those UFOs.
Yeah, that's right, Colombia. So I guess places that don't really shoot them down, but pretty much this, with this cyber system that we have in outer space, always monitoring the planet. It's, I mean, the globe is owned. There's not many countries that are not in the system,
right?
Or given access to it. So that's why I think we don't see as much as we did back in the past. It's just locked down. We've caught up a lot. From this video, if Lockheed's releasing this now, they've had it for 20, 30 years easily. So meta materials that can grow, no wires. It's literally just, it's like a living being. And these have been reports of the Roswell crash for decades, that it was like a living being, like an AI being. The beings inside were connected to it, so it's like a biological thing. So here it is.
That actually, I'm starting to see that a lot more traction in stories like that, where the actual UFO itself is its own being. It's not like it's not the equivalent of an airplane or a ship.
Right.
It's its own entity that carries other entities inside of it.
And that's why it needs intelligence, or biological intelligence, to hook up to it and make it work. It's not just or it can be autonomous, in that sense. But there's always been reports that these things are biological, especially the Roswell craft was.
Well, and we've showed several videos on our show about like the triangle UFOs, and it's always the same thing from the people who see them. They always go, "It feels like it was staring back at me."
Yeah, so weird. So you sent me this one about the Pandora's box. This is from 2009. I remember reading this when it came out. It was a mystery satellite that was on. Yeah, no one knew what it was, right?
No one claimed any ownership of it. Yeah. On September 8th, Lockheed Martin successfully launched an Atlas V from Cape Canaveral, carrying a very unusual satellite into orbit. Less than 2 weeks before launch, neither the company nor the government would announce what kind of satellite it was. But a press release issued on September 4th stated that it was a communications satellite. What makes it so unusual is that no government agency claims ownership of the satellite. This is unprecedented. Even the secretive National Reconnaissance Office acknowledges the satellite that it owns.
Right.
And it raises some intriguing questions about what is going on. Satellite, or at least the launch.
I thought it was NRO. Yeah, sorry.
The satellite, or at least the launch, was named PAN, P-A-N. A few weeks before the launch, on the official launch patch, was placed for sale on eBay, and it was revealed that PAN stood for Palladium at Night, a phrase that is equally confusing. I'm just going to zoom through this. I'll read it in my head, see if there's anything worth reading out loud.
Yeah, I remember. I thought it would be like the NRO, but they're saying they would usually. So it's probably a private entity because they don't need to disclose. It's not government.
Yeah, but it's still like, even if it's a private entity, I feel like they would happily disclose that because it makes them look good, boost that stock price up a little bit.
Yeah. Lockheed Martin, they talk about that we have successfully hit every milestone. What's this? Also, in 2008, the U.S. Navy's leadership was becoming concerned that their UFO communication satellite constellation was degrading rapidly, and the replacement multi-user objective systems satellites would not be ready in time. This would result in a critical gap of capabilities. The Navy announced that it was seeking to put a UFO transponder on a commercial satellite to cover the gap, but canceled its plans in 2009. It might be that then. I mean, cancels its plan doesn't mean anything.
I mean, I just get the feeling this is secret U.S. government stuff. Because it always is. It always is.
Right.
And Cape Canaveral is a very popular launch site for the U.S. So.
Right. So classified communication, CIA, all that stuff. Very cool.
Yeah. Scary though.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you sent me this too. This video.
Which one is this
from
again?
Sweden. So apparently filmed in Sweden in night vision. I do not know if it's real or fake, but it has been going viral for a couple days. There's a similar one that came out too, but we saw pictures of it, I think, in Chile.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
And here's that thing. See how on bottom there?
Yeah, very, very weirdly clear video.
Very clear.
I mean, this can't be mistaken for a bird or a plane or Superman.
No.
It's just a very odd. It looks. I was gonna say it looks like a saucer with like a fin sticking out the bottom.
Look, translucent
it looks.
here.
It almost looks like it's got wings, like it's flying
Yeah, the
upside
wings
down.
are translucent. What, you think it's like one of those big bugs? What are those dune bugs?
No, I don't. I don't think it's a bug.
I know, I'm kidding. But look how it's translucent though. The wings are.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is using night vision, so it's in.
And it has that appendix.
Yeah,
appendage. I mean,
appendage. Very. It's clearly it's going fast. Yeah, just a couple days ago on the 5th of February.
So it's pretty much flat, huh? Not really cigar, because it's not a blimp. It looks like a blimp from this angle,
right?
But then it flattens
when it
out
kind of
again.
goes away, you can kind of see it's circular shaped.
Yeah.
Or those are wings. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Very, very clear, very cool footage.
Yeah, and then this came
Could
in.
be a Russian drone. I'm saying
snaps.
that.
Oh yeah, or Chinese.
No, I was being serious. I mean, Sweden's right up there next to Russia, but this one looks really similar. And you sent this to me.
Yeah, could it be the same thing? Couple snaps, pics of flying saucer on road trip. You had to see it to believe it. I think this is in Chile, right?
Argentina.
Argentina. So it looks very, very similar. So from one angle, it looks like a blink. From a blimp, from another angle, it looks like a flying saucer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They were excited about it, though. He goes
again, a very, very clear photo, and it's not plane shaped. I mean, and yeah, technically, I guess it's blimp shaped, but blimps don't look like that, really.
No,
they're not so pointy on the ends.
Let's see what they say. He snapped a photo of the oval-shaped object as it headed towards some mountains. I noticed it was the same height as the power cables. Oh,
really?
Oh, small?
I would assume it's just higher.
Oh, but when I saw it going higher and higher, she recalled she showed the snaps to her grandchildren who were in awe of the images. I needed to see this in my life. You had to see it to believe it.
This stunning sighting occurred not far from the mysterious Brazil's Roswell, which is the subject of a 2022 documentary. Huh.
Oh,
for what's it called?
Virginia.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hecklefish always made fun of that name.
Oh, of course he did. Did you like the new Y-Files?
It was really good. I was hoping we could talk about that at some point in the show.
Yeah, it was the
Knights Templar.
Yeah. Mainstream American scientist Bruce E. Rapuano goes on the record with his own UFO close encounters and alien abduction experiences in a newly released book. A scientist's own alien abduction encounters called Dominion Lost by Bruce E. Rapuano, PhD. He goes on the record.
Yeah. Oh, you can get it if you got Kindle Unlimited. It's free.
Oh, nice. Oh, maybe I'll get that.
The book explains how the implants that are frequently reported by abductees work to analyze and influence the activity of the human brain.
That's what's going on with me.
Exactly how the quote-unquote gray aliens were genetically re-engineered from our early hominin ancestors. And precisely how the
hominid?
UFO... Huh?
No, hominid.
No, hominin like Homo sapien.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Precisely how the UFO propulsion system creates gravitational wave energy is another.
Oh, really? Huh?
Another thing that's discussed in the book.
Wow. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Did you see this? So this is coming out from Richard Geldreich on X. Such a great account. He's always researching. He tries so hard to get away from the drama and stay away from the drama, like Kirkpatrick and all that stuff. He just researches. Yeah. So he found at newspaper.com flying saucer replica found in ancient temple. So is it showing? Okay. Flying saucer replica found in ancient temple. London, November 30th. 1953, I think, right? We moderns aren't the only ones plagued by flying saucers. British archaeologists on the Isle of Cyprus reported to London today that they had unearthed a ruined temple. In the temple, they found a small stone seal. John Duplat, expedition leader, said one seal bore the replica of what was definitely a winged disc. Age of this antique flying saucer, about 3,000 years.
Yeah.
We love that stuff, right?
I absolutely do. Historical UFO, like not ancient, but historical UFOs are some of my favorite accounts. Like, the Roman armies will see a fiery chariot come down from the heavens, and it's just like, that kind of stuff fascinates me.
I want to link
MJ12 documents.
Yeah, the MJ12 documents. These are coming out again because of the National Archives. So apparently, one of these or a couple of these were in there. Because the UAP Disclosure Act, it was gutted, yes, but the only thing left there was the National Archives, that all agencies with any documents older than 25 years old have to release them. So the National Archives now is putting stuff in there, and some of these are in there.
So cool.
I know, right? So is that why Kirkpatrick is out doing this stuff?
Maybe.
So yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Majestic 12 was largely considered a myth until one of the famous UFO researchers found some of these documents, right?
Yeah, the doctor.
I know.
Oh my god, nuclear physicist.
Very, very, very famous.
Come on, man. Yeah. One of the famous ones.
Yeah, one of the.
I want to say Heineck, but it's not that.
Anyway. He made a whole, I don't think he started his career with the MJ12 documents. He made a big chunk of his career off the MJ12 documents, and now the fact that we're seeing them being released by other companies is not companies, these other organizations, very interesting.
Yeah, and this is before FOIA. So now a lot of agencies, after FOIA was released, when was it passed? I don't know, late 60s, early 70s. When was Carter? I think he did FOIA, right?
I think so.
So before that, these agencies had no idea this stuff would come out. So that's what these documents are. Now, or since then, they know about FOIA, so they shut up about things. They don't, they know that eventually something might come out. So they don't talk as candidly as it did back then. So these documents, the older ones, are just so much more like, look at this, flying saucer intelligence. Here it talks about Majestic SSP, so secret space program.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just absolutely nutso stuff. If this is all, and that's the thing I keep going back and forth in my head about. Like, is this just faked release just to get us to be talking about this, and it's not real?
Well, that's the thing, though, because they did not know back then. So here it is: National Archives tease up new rules for UFO records, and because it was before FOIA, they weren't supposed to be released. They had no idea. FOIA forced them to be released. But yes, you're right. Some have been burned. So the ones that haven't been burned, is it on purpose?
Right.
So new legislation mandates a government-wide repository of records dealing with unidentified anomalous phenomena. So here's an article just reiterating that, which is really cool. And here, I want to show this document showed up. This is one of the ones that showed up.
Oh, yeah, you sent this to me.
Oh, wait, here we go. Friedman.
Richard Friedman.
Yeah, or
Stanton Friedman.
Yeah, Stanton Friedman.
My bad, Richard Friedman.
1954. Oh, this is the general twinning memo, which says MJ12 on it. The president has decided that the MJ12 SSP secret space program briefing should take place during the already scheduled White House meeting of July 16th, rather than following it as previously intended. Rather than what? Following it. Here, you read it.
Okay. Hold on. The president has decided that the MJ12 SSP briefing should take place during the already scheduled White House meeting of July 16th, rather than following it as previously intended. More precise arrangements will be explained to you upon arrival. Please alter your plans accordingly. Your concurrence in the above change of arrangements is assured.
So it's not so right there. It's just showing that there is a secret space program, that MJ12 is real, and these are in the National Archives.
Pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah. So Mr. Kirkpatrick and whoever else you are saying there's no evidence and claims needs.
Yeah, but I read a CNN article that said that aliens aren't real.
And of course, this happens. This is according to Spaced Out Radio. Breaking news: MUFON is under major hack right now. It's good I never paid for that package, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's all gone apparently.
Really?
Yeah, sources indicate the hacker has taken over and locked everyone out of their CMS database. The attack has come from an IP address within the eastern USA. Data has been compromised. All gone. All
wow.
gone. There goes the evidence that we would like to uncover and show everyone that there's lots of evidence out there.
Man, oh man.
It's not crazy, dude. I'll just
frustrating.
It's like they only want the National Archives to have it. You know, just one source.
Such a shame.
It is a shame. And what are they going to refund everyone? Because I think it was like $350. I was seriously this close of getting it, and that you know, each week will dedicate like 10-15 minutes to stuff found on there, but it's gone now. I feel, you know, if I did buy it, I probably would have downloaded everything I saw.
Yeah,
I knew that would happen.
That's smart.
All
right, so Jeff Bezos has spent $42 million building a clock that will outlast human civilization in a mountain in Texas. And my biggest question is why?
Yeah, what does he know? Well,
it doesn't
when I was
matter.
watching this, I had some thoughts going in my head, like while watching this. I'm like, you know, this entire civilization is built on time. Everything, right? Our computers, our communication systems, we have GPS, all of that is based on just time. And maybe that's why, you know, if this one is gone, and at least we'll have this to start out with.
I mean, I guess, but really our time is based on the sun.
Yeah, the sun and the moon. Yeah.
We figured out that the sun
well, mostly the moon, and then
it takes 24 hours for the sun to go around, or the Earth to go around the sun. Or I'm sorry, it takes 24 hours for the Earth to completely rotate, so the sun is in the same place in the sky. That's how we figured that out, right?
Right. Yeah. And then the moon gave us months. The reason why we know what months are is because the moon, because it's 29 days, you know, 30 days, whatever.
So I don't understand how this. If we can't use the sun and the moon to figure out what the time,
well, maybe it's a jump start.
That means the Earth is completely boned anyway, because obviously if the sun and the moon don't exist, Earth is not.
Well, say civilization has to restart it. It means you have to have people with enough time to sit there and watch it all over again and watch it for decades.
You don't even have to sit there and watch it.
Civilization is destroyed. You won't have that.
That's what a sundial, dude. That's what a sundial is. You put a stake in the ground, you mark where the shadow is, and then you wait until that shadow comes, or the shadow comes back around, and you go boom. That's 24 hours, and then you just break it down from there.
And look at it, and the constellations. You have to map it to that, and you have to map it to the moon, and
the clock doesn't. This
it's more intricate.
I don't know. This seems like weird cabal ritual shit. Because I honestly I can't I don't know. I don't buy that.
How far deep in the mountain is it? Do we know? Does it show us?
And that's the other thing. Let's say civilization does crumble. Who the hell is going to be able to get to this clock?
Please, this is going to follow video. Our marketing lead posted
no,
this.
What's you're reading an ad.
Elon Musk SpaceX continues. This will fuck up. This is what Tesla. No, it's not Tesla at all. This guy's
great.
Nothing to do with it.
Bunch of
what is
idiot
wrong
Redditors arguing about something that has nothing to do with this video.
I wish, like, is there a release about this video? Here, I'm gonna look it up.
I haven't seen anything. I just thought this was really dumb and weird, and I don't get it.
Bezos clock mountain. Welcome to the 10,000 year clock. Oh, it's a website called 10,000 year clock.
Okay.
Can you see this? Can you see it?
Yeah, we are building a 10,000 year clock. It's a special clock designed to be a symbol and icon for long-term thinking. Okay, so it's just an art project.
It's a monumental scale inside a mountain in West Texas. The father of the clock is Danny Hillis. He's been thinking about and working on the clock since 1989. He wanted to build a clock that ticks once a year, where the century hand advances once every 100 years, and the cuckoo comes out on the millennium.
Okay.
The vision was and still is to build a clock that will keep time for the next 10,000 years. Oh, okay. All right. So
It's an art
Bezos paid
project.
for this.
It's an art project. That's all it is.
Jeff Bezos, thanks for your interest in the clock. Sincerely, Jeff Bezos. You gotta love these billionaires, huh?
Yeah, so dumb. What a waste of time and resources.
$42 million. I swear that's what they say art is money laundering.
It is. I still am convinced that it is.
All right, so we're almost at an hour and a half. So, an engineer accused of stealing secret U.S. government tech used to detect nuclear missile launches. I sent this to you. You're like, before I opened it, I knew it was a Chinese guy.
Of course, yeah. Of course. I was like, this has got to be from China. Chinese stealing secrets again. Big surprise
This is
there.
dangerous. I know I laughed, but this is really dangerous. Like, if China knows how we detect missile launches and nuclear missile launches, you know. But are we throwing them a bone? Are we doing a psyop with them?
Yeah, make them think that they
yeah,
you know, they know how we discover nuke launches, but we've got a secret other way.
Right. And this is a big deal that's been going on this week. Tucker Carlson and Putin, and this is the video that came before, like why he's doing it. I think at this point the whole world's seen it. I think 200 million people have seen the interview, and many people have like commented on it. And the only thing I'm going to say is that I think Putin is a KGB agent. We have to think about that. He had an agenda. One, he wanted to show that he's got brains and that our president doesn't. That's what he was trying to do with the whole history thing. Like, oh, let's go to 1600 and 1700. He's just trying to show that his brain works.
Yeah.
You know, right? And that's all he's doing is rubbing it in and rubbing it in. What am I supposed to do? Call Biden and say, "Oh, please don't send missiles to us." Right? He said that.
Yeah.
What was another thing that we're destroying our dollar ourselves by weaponizing it. You know, that's what basically I got from it.
I mean,
what do you think?
I know. Well, I think Putin is a corrupt, evil piece of shit. But I also think Ukraine is a very complicated issue, much more complicated than people seem to realize, because there are a lot of people in Ukraine who want to be back a part of Russia.
I mean, that's what I think. Yeah.
Is that worth going to war and killing, a whole generation?
What about our border?
Yeah. Is that worth, us sending so much money over there and everyone else sending the money in support? I don't think so, but it's not, I don't know. I do think Putin's smart, but I do think he's evil. I think he's essentially Lex Luthor.
I mean, he's good for Russia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he kills anyone who speaks out against him.
He does. Yeah.
He obviously feels comfortable.
Term or something.
He obviously feels comfortable having Tucker interview him because Tucker is on the right and is not so critical of Russia as other journalists.
And he'll get the views. I think he picked someone that will get the 100+ million views.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we saw how CNN Plus ended up. They folded within a week because no one watches, no one cares. It's something I love. Like, there's got to be a percentage of CNN quote unquote viewership that's just like TV's on at airports or like at the gym.
Oh yeah, it was 30% of their revenue at some point was the airports and hotels that were paying CNN, not people watching it. It was just on in the background.
Pretty crazy stuff.
So yeah, I mean, but definitely, it's good. He did real journalism. He interviewed him, which was good. I think Putin dominated. And as usual.
And watching the interview, I still think I did. And you pointed out Tucker did push back on a couple things. Or called quite, but you can't push too far because then you disappear off the face of the earth as soon as you leave the room with Putin. That's the other thing.
I think it's good though that he said we do want to negotiate peace. It's all sad. It's all disgusting. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have died, and for what? We sent them money and weapons just to enable that. Peace could have been negotiated a long time ago without those hundreds of thousands of people dying.
Yeah. I mean, war is really stupid. War is for young people to die so rich people can continue to be rich. That's all it is. That's all.
It's a racket.
That's always what it has been.
War is a racket.
It's what it always will be. It's
all
really
right. So maybe
really
let's go
unfortunate.
into some comedy. So I did send you this since we're talking about weaponizing the U.S. dollar. Listen to this guy. He's from the Fed. He's I think one of the Fed chiefs, or he's on the board. Kashkari. Look at this guy.
There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system. And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system. And there.
Look at his eyes.
I know how he's got scary eyes, man. That reminds me. I need to send you something that is completely relevant to this video.
We will do whatever we need to do.
What about the Fed?
No, the way his eyes look. I'm sending it to you.
Like reptilians kind of thing?
No.
Oh.
Check your signal. Maybe you can pull it up.
Oh, okay. Well, he talked to him.
But this guy, I mean, that's not 1,000 yard. That's not 1,000-yard stare. That's 1,000-mile like laser eyes. I don't know.
Well, it's scary because
he's like so excited that the Fed has infinite amount of money. He can't contain his excitement.
Oh my God.
Did you get that?
And we will make sure that we'll have the amount of cash needed. I mean, it's like, dude, like relax, man.
Pull up
that
that picture if you can.
1 second, almost there. I gotta do this. Yeah, and we can. I can't do a side by side, but we can. Here.
Yeah, so it's a chart of different eyes, you know, like if there's an eyelid drooping, you know, they're stressed, if there's a lot of pressure, if the eyes look a certain way, and then at the bottom, the eyes wide open. If you can see the white above the iris, these are the eyes of a psychopathic killer. These eyes want to gain power of you. And that's exactly, yes, look, it's identical. It looks just like that.
Oh my God, dude. The eyes of a psychopathic killer. These eyes want to gain power of, no shit. And that's why the guy's a chief in the Fed.
Yeah.
They put these guys there. We'll do whatever we have to do. Now, you know, I've listened to many economists and throughout the years, and they even said COVID was made by the central bankers to make sure that we have the cash, that they had to do it, you know, to print all that money. Anyway, that's another thing. But see, he's saying they'll do whatever they need to do. Even they say 9/11 was about that. All right, so here's some more funnies.
Well, don't forget about Lucky Larry.
I think, we got there. That'll be at the end. I got Lucky Larry. Don't worry.
Richard Doty, welcome.
Thank you, Jimmy. Good to be here.
Did you think that we would arrive at this moment?
No, not at all. If we were able to capture, say, for instance, an even, we would have to set up different facilities in order for them to adapt and live on our planet. They were from different places. The Ebens, we know they came from Zeta Reticuli. The Archeloids came from another star group. The Quantaloids, they're all different. And they look different.
Intense. Richard Doty, welcome.
Oh, that's Cosmic Judas. Oh, he's hilarious, man.
Not at the end. It's just
the lick at the end. Oh man, I'm tearing. All right, you sent me this. This is so funny, dude. This is so funny. So what's this from? I've never seen this.
Yeah, I hadn't either. Someone I saw it on Reddit someplace. So apparently it's the show. It's called oh no.
The show's not here. It's not on the YouTube.
It's not on YouTube, but there's clips of it on YouTube. But basically what they do is they take comedians and they dress them up. They dress them up in secret so that they can't know what they look like. And then right before they get interviewed, they're allowed to see with themselves. And so they have no prep time, essentially. And they have to ad-lib an interview with this woman who's actually really funny.
All right, this is really funny. Let's watch this.
Don't be afraid, but if you are aroused, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
But who is that? He seems so familiar.
Anyway, I know. I recognize the voice, but I don't know who it is.
Okay.
Need food for sustenance? Is that
No. See, we have our skin sucks in both the moon and the sun and feeds us.
the moon. And what do I know? I'm just a human. The light from the moon is the light from the sun.
So I'd basically take, most of my energy from the sun.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Was it true that you are coming to populate this planet? Because it doesn't seem like you've taken any steps to do that so far.
I got here. I looked up your pornography to see how to romance you.
I'm sorry, Denzel. Are you using pornography to see how to woo people here on
Why
Earth?
would you record yourself having sex if it isn't a tutorial? Like, that makes no sense. What is that
Denzel.
for?
It's for pleasure. It's for fantasy.
That's kind of fucked up. Yeah.
Why is that fucked up?
Because that's love, you know? That's like the creation of another child.
I think it's for pleasure, and then you move on.
You keep saying pleasure. What is that?
What is pleasure?
Yeah.
You know, I don't really know. Okay, Denzel, if you are here to, in fact, repopulate the Earth, I am going to give you this time right now to explain your mission to the entire audience. Wouldn't we like that? Yes. Go ahead, Denzel.
Was that 2 people?
We have this alien tradition where I come from, where the 2 people who like raised you have expectations of you. Because of those expectations, if you say you're going to go off and do something, they expect it to get done.
Wait, let's pause it. I hope, because we get a strike. Hopefully, we won't get a strike. It
No,
seems kind
this
of
no. You're not gonna, this clip is on YouTube and they haven't been struck down. This isn't from the
Y'all might not
show.
Okay, sorry.
Know about it.
Parental pressure. Some viewers wrote in, and so we have a few questions for you. We'd like some of your opinions on Earth things. Your opinion on hand sanitizer.
Toxic to my skin.
Really?
Funny enough, yeah.
How is it toxic to your skin?
It hurts when I use it.
Do you happen to have open cuts on your hand as you're putting on the hand sanitizer?
Yeah, how'd you know?
All right, Denzel. Your opinion on roller coasters.
Why would I be afraid of a roller coaster?
I'm not saying you're afraid of roller coasters. I'm asking if you've been on a roller coaster.
And I'm asking, why would I be afraid of a roller coaster?
I'm not saying you're afraid, but it's seeming like maybe you're afraid of roller coasters.
That go faster than those roller coasters.
So the show is called The Very Important People. The Very Important People Show.
Very Important People Show. That's hilarious. Man.
There's a bunch more clips from that's really funny. But basically, the whole joke is that the alien is essentially just like every other human. There's one little clip where she's like, "So what do you do you prefer the heat or the cold?" And he goes, "Well, we have these alien garments that when we're cold, we wear the lighter garments so we don't get so hot." Or if we're too hot, we lose the heavier garments, so we cool down. And if we're cold, we put on heavier garments, we warm up. And she goes, "You mean like a sweater?"
You mean like a sweater?
The whole joke is that the alien doesn't realize that he's exactly the same as the humans.
Yeah.
It's a really good bit.
I mean, that makes sense, especially with the sun and the moon one.
Yeah,
he's like, I essentially get from the sun. Then, yeah, you mean like us?
Like I'm just a human. Maybe I don't know, but it's the sun's. The moonlight is just a reflection of the sun. Yeah, I take my food from the sun.
Oh man, good comedy today. All right, well, this week. Well, so who did you see that one MMA guy? They asked him, they're like, how they always interview them up there with the whole MMA thing, they always have sunglasses on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I forget who it was, and they're like, Chiefs or 49ers, I don't give a fuck. That's all he says. So my question to you, Chiefs or 49ers?
Well, 49ers. I said it last week too. I hate the Chiefs. As a Broncos fan, I'm very opposed to the Chiefs being as successful as they are.
I'm with you.
They don't deserve it.
Now, people that say that it's rigged or it's political, which football really is, and we got Taylor Swift. People are saying, "Oh, she is a true American treasure," and the WEF wants to use it for their propaganda. Now, do you think because of all that they're going to make Chiefs win because it will elevate her even more, not just to her fan base and that demographics, but now to the football demographics?
I don't know. I think there's a lot more stuff to it. First of all, anyone who's watched the NFL the last couple of years knows that the NFL heavily favors the teams who are popular. That's why the Patriots always got all the calls when they were popular. The Chiefs have been really popular these last few years, and they get all the calls. I made a joke last week, and I stand by it. Kermit the Frog quarterback, if you stare at him too long, the refs will throw a penalty in his favor. There's always been questionable calls in the NFL, but it tends to favor whatever team's the most popular. The the NFL has been trying to they've been trying to widen their female audience for a very long time, hence the breast cancer awareness stuff. Have you seen Bill Burr's bit about that?
Yeah, I remember it.
How dumb he thinks it's like, yeah, I'm aware breast cancer exists. I don't need to be told that. Like, can you imagine if we're watching a movie and I pause it and I go, hey, you know, my uncle died of prostate cancer. It was terrible. Anyway, let's get back to the movie. Like, that's what he equated it to. And I thought that was really funny bit. But anyway, Taylor Swift, very popular amongst women. And now she is in the NFL zeitgeist. And so by showing her on the TV every goddamn chance they get, the NFL hopes to bring in more female viewership.
Interesting.
I don't really believe in the whole election thing where they're going to give her a stage to support Biden. If they did, they'd be really dumb, because people who watch the NFL, people who actually care about the NFL, not the wives who are sitting next to their husbands yell at the TV. You know, the people who watch the NFL, if they see someone like Taylor Swift come up and tell them that they're bigots or whatever for not voting for Biden, I mean, that's not going to do anything for. They're not going to gain any votes that way. I mean, can you imagine?
Where's the game? Where's the game being played? Do you know?
Las Vegas.
Oh, in Vegas.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's big time this year. And I don't know if you know, they've got a new stadium in Vegas now.
Yeah, such a cool stadium.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Me and my brother used to go. Well, actually, not used to go. There was 2 Super Bowls we went to that we didn't actually go in there, but we went to the cities that they were in, and it will be in a bar nearby.
Yeah,
it would be just as fun, just as crazy.
It seems like an absolute nightmare, to be honest.
Like, there was one in San Diego. We took the train down.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. Anyway, but yeah, it'll be really telling how this game goes, if the NFL is truly rigged or not.
Yeah,
but
we'll see. I'm with the 49ers too, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chiefs
honestly, if there's any conspiracy here, it's that the rampant betting in the NFL, like, you always get ads for, like, you know, bet on your phone, place a bet. I see it on Reddit all the time as I'm scrolling through. I mean, there's a lot of money that is going into gambling, and that I think that has affected the NFL more than anything.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's of course, when money's involved, corruption just comes in. It just does.
Every time, man.
Yeah, because people need more profit, so you want to go for the side that has what is it? That pays you more, because it was what is that called in betting? Is there a probability? You know, if someone is less probability of winning, and you bet on odds. Yeah, sorry, there you go, odds. Yeah. So if the odds are, if the odds will pay you out more, that the team would usually win, especially if there's a lot of money in it. Anyway, that's just what happens when money's involved.
So anyway, what did you think of the latest episode of the Y-Files?
I mean, I know about the Knights Templar a lot. So he mentioned a lot of stuff that I already know in there. What did he end it on? He didn't really have.
Well, he's going to have the head of the Templar Order for an interview.
Remember, he's going to bring that guy in.
Tim, what's his name?
Yeah, I mean, the history of the Knights Templar goes back, centuries. People think they found the Holy Grail, but when they came back to Europe, knights were royalty was taking loans from them, so they came back with something. They came back with the knowledge. They came back with wealth. But then the royalty flipped on them because they were
too powerful.
Well, not just either this was a lie, or because they became too powerful that they made it up. But they arrested all of them, saying that they were Satan worshippers and they were worshiping Baphomet. And that the Baphomet thing, and then they were apparently forced underground. Now, I don't know if AJ covers this, but they were forced underground.
He did, actually.
And that's what created the Rosicrucians and the Masons. And that is the history of the Knight Templars. Which created this country, which then overcame the Catholic Church, and then now they're on top again.
He talked about all of that, actually.
Okay.
And some of the interesting stuff is I didn't realize how widespread the Knights Templar were. I mean, like you just mentioned, they basically had started a banking system because people kept getting robbed on the road,
right?
Which I had never known. So basically, these people would show up at a bank deposit all their gold, and then get a note back saying, I deposited 600 gold here. And then they go to the next town or wherever their destination was, go to the bank, and then pull out their gold there. I mean, it's not the exact same gold, obviously, but it's the same, amount.
Yeah,
And
it was a network. I mean, they copied the Muslims from that because they did that before.
Well, and that's where that's in the early part of the episode he talks about where the Knights Templar learned it, and that's it was I thought it was really interesting, but
it is really cool.
I did the whole thing with France turning on them because they were too influential. I found that very interesting. He talked a little bit about the East India Tea Company, and I didn't realize how. I mean, I knew they were big. I didn't realize how big that company was. They were their own global country. They had their own armies and shit. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, it was one of the first one of the first global corporations.
That
was backed by a government. So that's where our corporations learned this, and where our government is used, and army is used to back the interests of corporations and their profits. Yes, that the East India Company started that type of mentality.
Yeah, it's interesting because you see all the stuff that has come to fruition today. You see the seeds of it, hundreds of years ago. So it was a pretty interesting episode, I thought.
Very good episode. And I think I'm going to start listening to the podcast because he says he goes down deep dives.
Yeah, I was doing that this week actually. That's kind of why I was bringing it up. Yeah, because there's one more thing I wanted to say. A couple months ago, I went out to dinner with my parents, and then a family member that we both share who's well traveled, and I made an off the cuff comment that I was like, I didn't think they found any bodies in the Great Pyramids, and she just laughed and go, of course they have. They found so many bodies. And then I was listening to the podcast of the Y Files, and I got to the episode where that was brought up. He goes, well, to this day, no bodies have been found in the pyramids. And I was like, well, I have to check because this family member is well traveled and very smart, and she knows her stuff. And I was looking into it, and I guess I'm still kind of confused. So apparently they found body parts in some of the pyramids. They haven't found a full place, and they found where sarcophagi were supposed to be.
You don't know if those are sarcophagi though, and there's no hieroglyphics either. If it was a tomb, there'd be hieroglyphics there. Every other tomb has the story of whoever's buried there, what's going on. There's none of that in the pyramids.
So I was trying to do my own research because I'm like, well, I'm hearing two different conflicting things here, and I still haven't really gotten down to because the common or the mainstream theory is that because the pyramids have been there so long, they've been robbed over and over and over again, and there's just nothing left at this point. But it does seem like the tomb theory is the most mainstream theory as to
but that's not. It doesn't fit anything else though.
But yeah, it does seem like there's a lot of evidence lacking. But I was just like, I was so embarrassed I had said that, and then I was like, where did I get that information? Because I know I've heard that, and then I heard it on that episode. I was like, okay, that's where I got it from. So why was she so adamant that bodies had been found there?
Oh, that bodies had been found. Yeah, because that's the mainstream one. That it was a tomb, and that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people are always adamant because the mainstream says it, and they've read it in textbooks, and they've seen it on the History Channel, and stuff like that. So that's where that comes from. But no, it's definitely not a tomb. There's no hieroglyphs in there. A mummy was not found. If it was Khufu, where was Khufu's body? Every other tomb, they're usually there with their treasures, with hieroglyphs. No hieroglyphs, no treasure. It was probably most likely either an energy device.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is in the episode that I was just talking about, AJ talks about how there's a lot of evidence pointing to being an energy source.
Yeah,
they even have the cooling tunnels underneath the roads of Rostow.
Pretty and there was water there too, and
yeah,
for sure.
And then going really quick on hieroglyphics, that was the other thing that was talked about in the Knights Templar episode, was that a bunch of Viking runes, and the Vikings were originally some of the Templars that had gone underground, was found like in the middle of the U.S. and dated way before Columbus got here.
Yeah, I'll send you another episode. This guy, his name is Analog. He's got a great YouTube channel, and he even says there's pyramids here in San Diego. And
they're all over the place. Pyramids are.
Yeah, I know they're all. Yeah, but I didn't know there's in San Diego. So in San Diego, and if you go underneath, there's layers and layers and layers of cities on each layer, and apparently that's all over the earth where we've just built on different civilizations that get buried or they get destroyed. Whoever the remnants come back and they built on top of this city, and that's everywhere.
Even there's a really famous city, is it Bruges in Europe, where you can see the old country and like the whole city is like 2-layer because you've got the old town and then they just kept building on top of it, and you can see where like has it modernized. It's pretty interesting.
Greece is like Greece. Whenever there's like some huge project, they always find stuff when they dig.
I love human history, man. It's so interesting to me.
Yeah, and we're not the only one. They love, that's the mainstream thing. That's what they try to pigeonhole us in, is that we evolved here. This is when, and then the cradle of civilization happened here in Iraq and Israel and that area only, in Egypt, and now our leaders who are at the top of this civilization are the most advanced ever and the only. Mind you, there's never been civilizations before that, and that's what they don't like. They don't like the evidence that there was multiple civilizations, human civilizations before this one, that have been destroyed either on purpose or cataclysms, and there's been a rebuilding that always happens, and we live in one right now that's been rebuilt, and it kind of, lots of researchers say that was remnants of the people that left over from Atlantis. Those families gave those secrets to Egypt and Babylon,
and in South America and Central America too.
And all of them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's a really common story, and something that I learned a lot about after visiting Mexico. I think I talked about this last week, right? Going to go see Chichen Itza and all that stuff, and reading about the history there. And they talk about how one of their gods came out of the ocean and taught them how to farm and taught them, how to track the weather and stuff.
Just like Samaria, yeah.
And it's, and it's something that AJ has talked about on many episodes, that once Atlantis fell, everyone spread out and restarted civilization all over the world.
Yeah. And it'll probably happen again. Like when this one is gone, we have all these deep military underground bases. Same thing. They'll just rise up, and then whoever remnants are on Earth again, they'll be uncivilized and like, all right, here you go. Here's math, here's music, here's blah, blah, blah. Same families probably.
Well, I'm just laughing because, like, first of all, I thought of that. It's a meme about a guy. It's showing a guy who's talking to like clearly like ancient people in the Middle East, and then he finishes his speech, and someone from the audience goes, "Okay, so how do we make electricity?" Because he's like holding up an iPhone or something. I'm just imagining that, our country or our whole world falls, and humans are spread to the corners of the planet, and people separately go to them and go, "This is an iPhone. You can order pizza on it." And they go, "Well, who do we order pizza from? How do we turn the phone on?" And go, "I don't know how to do that."
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to our history, that's for sure. All right, cool. Well, episode 58. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to bust through Topher's Media Corner. True Detective sucks this season. I can't stand it.
Oh no.
Season 2 of Halo is on TV now, and it's much better than the first season. Still not great. Shoot, I had a movie in mind to recommend to everybody, but I
did not like Underwater, by the way. Hey, we're hitting 2 hours, man. No, I didn't. I did not like it at all.
Why not?
I just didn't, dude. The whole thing, it just seemed totally normal, or like, there was nothing deep in there. It was just noisy. It was.
Oh man, no, it was Cthulhu, man.
I didn't like it.
Well, can't please everyone, I guess.
It just seemed normal. That's all. It seemed like a typical whatever the genre is what I felt when I was watching it.
So you were expecting more like, what do you like? What were you looking?
I can't tell you. I guess they just didn't jive, I guess.
Whatever, man. I think you got
you can't win them all.
Poor taste in movies.
Yeah, sure.
That's called user error. Anyway, we're almost in 2 hours. Let's wrap this up. We want to thank you all so much for joining us on the Uncovering Anomalies podcast. That is I Want to Believe Adam.
All right, everybody, you got to follow us on Twitter, please, on X, UAP, the podcast. Share our YouTube. I know all you guys are listening on podcasting platforms. Why don't you go on YouTube? Check this out. See how it looks, We're sharing stuff. We're watching videos. We're reading, so go on YouTube at Uncovering Anomalies podcast. Subscribe there. Follow us. Share it. Tell your friends about us. and then we're on Rumble, and then all the other podcasting platforms. But get us out there, we know you're listening to us, so
yeah, we want to extend our
help us
reach. We
grow.
want people to know that if they're interested in UFOs and aliens and all this fun stuff that's going on, but they don't have the time or energy to check out every single thing that happens during the week,
Right.
they can just come here and listen to us for a couple of hours
Exactly.
and get good movie recommendations that some of us don't like.
Hey man, people differ in movies. It's okay. It's nothing personal. I mean, I was watching it. I was like, yeah, I mean, I get it, but like, I just didn't resonate. How about that?
Pshaw.
Yeah.
Pshaw is what I say.
Pshaw.
Pshaw.
I mean, look, the ending was cool. I like that she sacrificed herself and all
Oh,
that.
spoilers.
All that stuff, but hey, that's what happens when we talk about movies. Sorry. What do you want me to say?
I make sure never to spoil anything.
Unless we say spoiler.
Yeah. Then I say plug your ears.
Earmuffs.
Anyway, I'm Tell It All Topher. You can follow me on X if you want at Topher at all. I don't post on there much. Whatever you do, don't spend all your time on social media though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It can have negative effects, and it's not the real world, obviously, and our brains are not wired to to have those type of conversations and with many hundreds of people all the time and endless feeds. This doesn't work for our brains.
And it's just the interaction with all these people who don't give two shits about you, I think that is really mentally taxing. So go out. It's Super Bowl weekend. See your friends, see your family. Go smoke a cigarette at a bar. meet some new people, blow smoke in their face, and then they'll blow smoke in your face, and then you'll stink for the next 3 days. That was the only thing I never liked. That was the thing about cigarettes, is I always liked how they smelled. I could not stand how they tasted.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, especially when it's first lit. They like that the smell of it.
Because that's always one of those things. It hasn't happened in a while, but I go, man, I really want a cigarette because I can smell some.
Yeah, and then once you have, you're like, oh, that wasn't that good.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah.
And then you go wash your hands, but your hands still smell like cigarettes. Oh boy, I'm so glad I don't smoke anymore.
Well,
anyway, I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's it. We're good. We're at an hour and 56 minutes.
Go Niners. Fuck the Chiefs.
Fuck the Chiefs. Go Niners.
Fuck
and
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is so overrated. Fuck Travis Kelce. I don't know. He's a good tight end, but he always plays good against the Broncos. That's why I don't like him.
Oh, God.
And I don't like Kermit the Frog either. I'm not even going to say their quarterback's name. He's Kermit the Frog.
All right. See you all next week.
Bye. God, I want a cigarette.